Sabres win 4-3 in a shootout, beating the, hated for sure. There were a decent amount of Vegas jerseys in the stands today. I could tell from TV, but the hated Jack Eichel-led Vegas Golden Knights 4-3 in a shootout. I would say this has been one of their probably most complete games all season. They won in all three phases, and I would have to even go as far as, you kind of dominated the Vegas Golden Knights today. And, I'm pretty sure they don't have a ton of luck in matinee games, but they dominated today. Really start to finish, in my opinion. Obviously, they have some more skill guys there. They have a deeper lineup. So, sometimes you're just going to, give up goals just due to skill. And just obviously not having as deep of a lineup as Vegas. But I thought for sure that they stood their ground. They got down 2-0. The hit on Howden on Kulik, which knocked them out of the game. Krebs. Before I get in that, I hate it that it's Krebs or Benson always being like the guy if on the ice to stand up first. Like, I love it, but I hate it. And how could you, I don't know, man. When you have Matthias Samuelsson out there, why isn't it Samuelsson? Like, you know that there's this narrative about you that you're not tough, you're not willing to stand up for teammates. You've kind of showed it quite a few times in the past, and just like, why isn't it that guy? I think it was Samuelsson. Yeah, just kind of got this. And Clifton too was out there. It might not have been Samuelsson, but there were a couple of times I thought Samuelsson should have been a little bit more physical. I want to say it was Samuelsson on the Krebs fight. He was out there. Regardless, I know Krebs was the first one on him. You can't complain for him being the first guy out there. I hate that it's always like those two guys if they're on the ice. And I love it. You also love to see a response when it's from like Tage or Tuck, but those are the guys you just don't want fighting. You don't want them fighting. Like, I understand it from a leadership standpoint, sticking up for your teammates. I 100% agree with that. The last thing we need is one of those two guys getting injured long term. The season's lost, but I just don't want that to happen personally. But regardless, I love the response 2 games in a row. Kulik taking that hit to the head from Howden, and then just the immediate response from Krebs. And then Greenway picking a fight with Kolesar, a few minutes later. How can you not love that? They're sticking up for one another. It sucks that it took till March, whatever today's date is, the March 15th. And previous game before that for them to do it, but it's nice to see. So, but again, you got a complete game in all 3 phases tonight or today, and I can appreciate that more. From the Peanut Gallery, healthy scratch Samuelsson for the rest of the season. From Pablo Perosa, I haven't seen you in a minute. If you're one of the people who doesn't want a thug on the team to cheap shot other teams' players, don't complain at all about Kulik. Just go back to drooling over skilled 20-year-olds. I agree. And here's the thing: you don't need a thug. You don't need a thug. Like Keegan Kolesar, that's the type of guy he can score 10 goals a season. He can be productive offensively, but teams will be hesitant when he's out on the ice to take liberties against your skill players, or even if you know a guy like Keegan Kolesar or Nick Delorier, players of that nature are out there, are in the lineup, because it makes you think twice, because you don't want to have to deal with that guy. So yeah, I tend to agree. You can't really complain can't complain about having those guys in the team and then be fine. You know what I mean? I agree with his comment entirely. Amazing job on After the Whistle. Thanks, guys, for all you guys have reached out. Yeah, I was on After the Whistle today's episode. Me, Craig, and Petey shot the shit about the current state of the Sabres, amongst other things too. So thanks for all you guys that reached out, and I highly suggest you give it a listen. Go give it a listen. It's fantastic. We had a great time. Probably could have went on for another hour, but obviously people have time constraints. So I had a blast with those guys. So make sure you go check it out with After the Whistle. Pablo, can someone tell those guys to get basic facts down on After the Whistle? They've been covering this team for how many years, and they still think Darlene is 26. Basic facts. He is. I mean, talking about age. I don't know. I'm not going to give them too much slack on not knowing the current age of a player. He's 24 or whatever. I mean, they were nice enough to let me have on the show. In terms of hockey content that you take in podcast wise, I enjoy them the most because they played the game. They know what it takes. They both know what it takes to win from throughout their careers. And I appreciate them having me on. So the last 6 men out were perfect. Thompson, Tuck, Zucker, McLeod, Dahlin, and Byram. That was so clutch. I love it. It's friggin' hilarious. And maybe I'm wrong, but I almost hope that when Hertl gave up that, it wasn't a clear-cut breakaway. I know Krebs, and a couple clicks for Krebs. I thought he had a great game. Krebs helping put the pressure on Hertl there, so it wasn't an easy tap and goal. But I like to think that Jack was selfishly calling for the puck on that drop pass because he wanted to be the one to seal it. And then as a turnover went the other way. And then our captain, the new captain, Rasmus Dahlin, is the one to seal it, tie the game up, and set it to overtime. I like to think like that. So, I'm just going to think like that's actually what happened. But yeah, I wasn't able to catch the game. It's in its entirety. But what I saw, I just liked everything I saw. And it just sucks that this team can't show up every single game. It sucks that, the breakdowns you see against a team like Detroit the other night. It's irritating to lose a game the way they did against Detroit, and then you come here in home against Vegas, and you really take it to arguably the best team in the league, easily the best team in the Pacific. So I don't know, man. It's irritating. It's frustrating for Sabres fans to see that type of an effort and that type of result on March 15th when the season's all but over. Why can't we get that every single game? At least that effort. Not even looking for the result. Obviously, you want the result, but getting that result, getting that effort and that energy, that passion, that hustle every single game. And I said this on After the Whistle with those guys. I said that if you give fans that type of an effort every single game, they will get behind you. And they will. They will. I promise you, this fan base will. Even if you don't always get the result. Past in the city has proven that this fans will stay behind you and get behind you and support you if you just leave it all out on the ice. And that's what they did tonight. They left it all out on the ice. And luckily, the result went in their favor. You win against a Jack Eichel Vegas Golden Knights team. They obviously, it sucks seeing Jack being the guy that make it 3-2. But then just seeing the way that almost empty net goal, and then the turnover, and then pushing it up the other way, and then Rasmus being the guy to blow a howitzer by Adin Hill. He didn't see it, tucked in front, screening him. Just a fantastic sequence. You absolutely love to see it. I'm going to pull up some of Brian Koziel's post-game comments here, because I'm sure I read a couple of them and was really pleased with what I was hearing. But, that's all talk. I want to see more results. And not, again, when I say results, I mean that effort. Every single game. Give me that result. Dahlin on the game-winning goal. Unbelievable play by Tage and Bo to keep the puck in, and a great pass from Bo. All I had to do was shoot it. Dahlin says they are clearly a different team on sticking up for each other. Says we look like a real team now. This is the start of something good, I think. I like hearing that. Those are good things to hear from your captain when the knock on you for the entire, not just this season, going back, is you guys just don't stick up for each other. Nobody has each other's backs, and that's not a real team. If you aren't willing to go to war for every single player in that lineup, even if you don't like them, just the fact that they wear your crest on the front of their chest and the city and the team you represent, that means you should be willing to go to war for each other. Barnaby even said it too in the past. He hated Hasek. He thought he was a terrible teammate, but he was willing to go to war for him if you touched him. It's a fact. You got to be willing to go to war for every single player on that bench. You have to. And I think that was lost at some point. And hearing Dahlin say that, I tend to agree. 2 games in a row where, somebody took a liberty and an immediate response. We'll see what Kevin Adams, assuming that he is the guy making the decisions in the offseason, does to bring in a real player to be the guy to deter that type of play against you, if you know what I mean. Like having certain players in your lineup makes other teams hesitant at taking liberties and taking cheap shots. Maybe he brings in a guy like that. And again, nobody wants Ryan Reeves, but a player that's going to contribute maybe 35 points to your lineup a season, 30, 35 points on the fourth line, but he's going to go out there and he's going to hold the other team accountable if they ever try and take a cheap shot. You know, that's what they need. Darlene says they want to do something good here. I'm very happy with how today went. He also says the locker room has a different vibe right now. Guys want to be here. Says there are a lot of things the media doesn't see. Now, I don't know if that's a kind of a response meant to keep the focus off what was reported earlier in the week via, I don't know who originally reported it, but we did hear from Paul Bissonnette, not a direct report. He obviously, apparently we all knew. I personally, I'm going to speak for myself. I did not know. And I subscribe to both the Buffalo News beat writers too, Mike Harrington and Lance Lessett. I personally, maybe I missed it. I'm pretty ignorant there. Did not know that Darlene personally requested a sit down with Kevin Adams. I feel like that would have been a bigger story and not just a blip on the radar had fans known that. Just me speaking for myself as a fan, and I think kind of knowing this fan base, I feel that fans would have been a lot more interested had they known that sit down was requested by the captain, because we've been there before, with Jack, and we want to know what was said during that meeting. What questions were asked, what did Rasmus want to know, what were Kevin's answers. So I don't know who, I will plead ignorance. I don't know who initially reported it. All I do know is the guy who said it happened the first time I heard about it, and that was Paul Bissonnette. And obviously there was a miscommunication between Elliot Friedman. Elliot Friedman was the one who told him that the meeting happened, and then was what gave him information. I guess we could say false information, because Elliot essentially took the blame for it on his 32 Thoughts podcast. But, he took the blame for giving misinformation, I guess you can say, to Biz, and Biz just reported what Elliot told him, so it's not really his fault. I think Elliot took the heat for that. But you see that, you hear that response there from Darlene about what's going on inside the locker room. And I like hearing that, but I hope it's just not a knee-jerk reaction still going back to what happened in that post game, or in that presser, personally. Sorry, guys, I just dealing with some in-house stuff. Yeah, but I hope that's just, again, not just like a knee-jerk response, trying to, not fuel those flames anymore, put that fire out that was created by that Spit and Chicklets episode. So, but again, I like hearing my captain say that. That's who he is. He's my captain. From Zucker, I think we are trying to focus on how we want to finish. How he wants to finish this season. I thought after the game in Detroit, this was a great response. Yeah, again, you got pumped in Detroit. You got absolutely destroyed in the Motor City, and this was a great response from your team. Zucker says his goal was 100% because of the pressure from McLeod behind the net on the yeah. McLeod maintained pressure. I want to say it was on Pietrangelo causing that turnover. All Zucker had to do was shoot it. Get in the right spot and shoot it. So great. And again, you go back to the would have been empty net goal. Krebs made that a tougher play for Hurdle. And I don't know if Jack was calling for it. He thought he was open, or, Hurdle just tried to make that play on his own, but caused a turnover and went up the other way. And Darlene scores the game tying goal. McLeod says he may have got a stick on the clearing attempt that led to the Zucker goal. McLeod says he's being put in more offensive opportunities here, and he's trying to roll with it and hopes to keep his production going. Lindy says they did a lot of good things in the game, including managing the puck in the game. It gave them a chance to beat a good team. Not a really good team, a great team. Lindian Kulik, he's doing pretty good after talking with him. So, that hit by Howden on him took him out of the game. Like, good to hear that he's doing okay. Lindian Dahlin, when asked about the game-tying goal, immediately talks about Dahlin's puck mistake that led to a goal against and says he knows it's the wrong time to make that kind of play. Lindy says the response from the hit on Kulik is exactly what they needed, and it's what they didn't get in the New Jersey game earlier this season when Tage got hit. We all remember that. Lindy really applauded Tuck on the screen on the game-tying goal from Dahlin, says it was a huge part of it happening. Yeah, like we talk about that so much too with getting pucks and bodies to the net and how it's just not done consistently enough. On a team that's built like this one is, where you're not just going to win like Vegas does on skill alone and just having consistent chemistry from lines 1 to 4. They have 4 scoring lines in Vegas. We don't. On a good night, we have 2, realistically. I don't think this team, still at least yet, doesn't have 3 scoring lines. And, most nights we have 1, maybe 1.5, depending if they mix up lines. And the power play, obviously, is still a huge issue. But, yeah, I mean, getting pucks to the net, getting pucks deep, getting bodies to the net, that's what would have helped. That would have helped this team so much more this season, obviously having a better power play. More comments here from the peanut gallery. From Sean Smith. I don't know if we've seen you in the chat before, Sean. So welcome. Thanks for hopping in. Duane, it baffles me why the Sabres decide to play a complete 60 games once they realize that there is a low percentage chance of making playoffs year after year. They seem to trend this way. Yeah, this is not something new at all. Once we get more experience as a group, the winning will start. I believe we are not that far. Here's the thing. I tend to agree with that. Like, I said it on After the Whistle. I said it on our last podcast. I said, I genuinely do hope that the message sent by Dahlin to Kevin Adams in this like one-on-one sit down that they had was he's not going to stick around. Now, obviously, I don't believe that he requested a trade, but I hope that he put some pressure and used his leverage as the most important player on this team, the most tenured players team, and the team's captain. Use that leverage that he obviously has to put pressure on the organization to make some real splashes in free agency or in the trade market. The only way you're going to get that high elite offensive player is through free agency. And that means you're going to have to overpay. And I think back to when Eichel requested the trade the first time, and their immediate response was to go sign Taylor Hall for 1 year, $8 million. Obviously, that was a big deal. We were all really happy about it, but that was a reaction to what Jack asked. He requested. And they said, hold on, let us figure this out. We'll make some moves. And they did. They went and they got a former MVP of the league. Obviously, it didn't work out. Taylor Hall wasn't the same Taylor Hall we saw years before, and Jack got hurt and the season went off the rails. But that still doesn't mean you can't take that chance again. And I said it then and I'll say it now. If he hits free agency, man, take a run at Mitch Marner. The guy is a consistent. He's never scored less than 60 points in this league. Never. He's a consistent, I can't remember again how many primary. I think he has over 400 assists to Austin Matthews, and I think it was 145 of those assists were primary assists. Imagine what that could do for a guy like Tage, who's already scoring, close to 40 goals a season. That's going to get him over to that next level. You know what I mean? Having a line mate like that who has a high IQ and the playmaking ability like Mitch. Because Mitch isn't a 50-goal scorer. He's a playmaker. He is finished, but he is a playmaker at the end of the day. So I get you have to find a way to pique interest with a guy like Mitch Marner, because I do genuinely think Mitch doesn't fully believe in the stereotypes you hear about the city of Buffalo, because he comes here, for Bills games, for non-Sabres related reasons. He's a massive Bills fan. I'm sure he's been out in the city. He's seen the city. He knows that it's not just, the shit you see on the 33 when teams roll into town. He knows that there is, a social atmosphere life, outside of just playing hockey and dealing with cold winters. So I truly believe that you genuinely could convince that guy to come here if you're willing to pay $14.5. And I'd be, again, with the deal you buy out Samuelson, the deal that Tage is currently playing on for like $7.5 million a year. If you think about it, those two players, if they were making truly what they should be making, you weren't overpaying either of them, but you're paying them what the market value tells them. It's probably between the two of them about $22-23 million. But because you're like Tage is so underpaid, you can afford to overpay Mitch Marner. You could. Sure, restructure Tage down the line so he doesn't get angry and irritated that he's an underpaid player. That's also kind of Tage's fault. After his first big season, he signed a big-time deal and was willing to take that kind of money. I'm surprised the agent allowed that to happen. But again, if you have a guy like Marner making it to free agency, you overpay. You absolutely overpay. Do whatever you can. Get him in the city. Give him a tour. Don't let him leave. Do with him whatever you do with Mario Williams. Have Josh Allen and Deion Dawkins helping, with that recruitment of a guy like him. So, I don't know. Yeah, you can't be disappointed with the effort from the Sabres tonight, or today. I keep saying tonight. Today, matinee, 12:30 start. So, I don't know. Obviously, it's St. Patrick's Day weekend. So if you guys are out planning out a night out, to celebrate St. Patty's Day, just make sure you get over Fatty Beer, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from. St. Patty's Day weekend. They have a lot of great drink specials on tap. They have 6 different Western New York locations from Lancaster, Orchard Park to Kenmore Avenue, or there in Kenmore. They have one North Tonawanda. If you're looking to get a beer, make sure you make it a Fatty Beer. Let them know 2 goalies, 1 Mike sent you. You can find them at Fatty Beer on Instagram and Twitter, fattybeer.com. Make sure you try their the F Yeah beer, the mango wheat. It's delicious. I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the this win and this weekend, this great weather we're getting. It's a nice change of pace. Nice to get out of the house, right? So enjoy. I'll hang up and listen. Wait, is that the Fatties that played hockey at St. Francis? Yeah, Nick Fatty, he coaches them now, I believe. So great hockey mind, former scout of the Sabres. Yes, he owns 6 locations in Western New York, a location in Rochester, and then one in Ohio, believe it or not. So they've been taking off ever since they opened their first location. Yeah. So let me see some more comments here. That you guys are really coming through with the comments here. Marner with Tage will be very similar to Marner or Matthews. I think the level underneath. Matthews could very well break the goal record Ovechkin's getting ready to break, down the line. Who knows? How great of a goal scorer he is. We'll see. I think Ovechkin's breaking that record because of his ability to stay healthy for most of his career. I think pretty much everybody thought that chasing that record was done for at least this season after that injury. And then he comes back and he's like still averaging like a goal every 2 games. Like it's nuts, or a goal a game. Even I'm not sure. It's crazy. I think his goals per game is probably around like 0.85 or above. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It's only overpaying if he doesn't produce. Risk is low. Yeah, he produces. Sign Mitch Lee. Again, I would not be against signing Mitch Marner to like a $15 million a year deal. I wouldn't, because your next best player offensively is only making 7.5. It all evens itself out. So I am completely on board with all of that personally. Get it done. Find a way to convince him personally, because I think he'll be worth every penny, and he might be the guy to help us get over the hump to get to the playoffs. Buy out Samuelson. He's useless as a poopy flavored lollipop. Guy contributes nothing. You're not signing Jack Quinn to a long-term deal. Other than the shootout, can we just keep him on the bench in case we get to a shootout? Just run 11 forwards every night and just keep stapled to the bench. And if we need him in the shootout, we bring him out, because that's all he's really shown to be consistently good at ever since his multiple injuries. So you're not going to be paying that guy long term. The only guy you really got to worry about is JJ Peterka and maybe Bowen Byram if you decide to bring him back. So you're going to have plenty of cap space. The cap is going up dramatically over the next couple of years. So take a chance, overpay a guy, do what it takes. But I'm going to let you guys go. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your audio-only podcast. If you're watching on Twitter, you can find me at Duane S39 there. You can find our actual podcast itself, at Two Goalies, One Mic. Most importantly, if you're watching on YouTube, for all of you people who are watching on YouTube right now, are commenting in the chat, please make sure you hit subscribe, hit the bell icon so you know when we go live. And I beg you all, please hit the like button. Helps us with that algorithm. So I appreciate you all. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Saturday, this beautiful Saturday. It's supposed to rain a lot tomorrow. I'll hang up and listen. And as always, yes, Real Deal Prime. Smash that thumbs up. As always, go Sabres.